Hey guys, Ladylocks here, and today I've got this Sesamee 900 padlock. It is actually sort of like an 1100 clone. It's a lockout tagout lock. I guess this is kind of an older type of lotto lock that they don't really make these anymore. Picksmith sent this one to me, and I want to check it out and see, just how it measured up to, I guess, the 1100s. Along, as far as the difficulty level, that kind of thing. Here's the box for it. Actually says Sesamee 900 series, aluminum safety lockout padlock. All right, so commercial, keyed lock, weather resistant. So this was, does that say 1882 or 1862? I can't really see that. 1882. Okay. Let's see. And it just gives you a peek at the lock color, which was black anyway, so that's about it. All right, so compared to an 1100, pretty much same size, similar lock body. The keyway actually looks similar as well. Hopefully this will let us see it better. And if you check out that 1100, it kind of has that same keyway, except it's a little bit wider on the 1100. So this one's a little more restricted. Looks like it's going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, that keyway's looking pretty nasty in this Sesamee. Here's the key. Nice shackle pop. And there's a screw right down in here. I can unscrew to got this so we can get it when it's picked. If it's picked. I've not picked this one yet, so this is going to be my first try. And I'm just going to try to see, just how hard this one is. All right, so let's get this up in the vise and, see what it's like to pick it. All right, so I've got it up in the vise. Just double check that the key works one last time. And it sure does. And I just put this stuff in here because my vice clamps sometimes actually brush up against the sides of the locks, and I don't like that. Don't want to mess this one up, so I just put this in between, and it keeps it from marking up the lock. All right, so now that we see it works, I've got a couple hooks I'm going to try. I guess first I'm going to go with the Jimmy Longs. I'm using this top of keyway. I guess this is an ergo turner from Covert Instruments, and I want to say this is probably 40 thousandths, maybe 50 thousandths. And I just grabbed it because it fit, and that's it. That's the only reason it was the first one I grabbed that fit. I don't really care for these unless I'm maybe picking in hand, but I feel like I don't have enough tension control when it's over to the side like this. I prefer to, have my tensioner straight up and down. I feel like I have a little bit more control with it that way, but we'll see. We'll see how this works out. I might have to switch. You never know. And yeah, just the Jimmy Long's standard hook, flat hook is all I'm going to start out with. This one is 23 thousandths. It might be a little big. I might have to switch that as well because this keyway is a bit tight, but it seems like I can fit, so I'm just going to try it and see. And I usually do grab the Jimmy Longs first. That's my first choice of picks. It gives me just enough feedback, then I don't care for the Petersons too much. They give a lot of feedback, and you can really feel every little thing. And when you have tight warding like this, sometimes it can be annoying to feel that warding over and over again on those picks. And even though you can feel it on the Jimmy Longs, it's not as loud, I guess you could say, as when you use a Peterson. And I haven't tried my Sparrows yet, but that's usually the hook I use when I want less feedback is a sparrows, because they give kind of, I feel like, the least amount of interference feedback. You can feel your pins really well, but sparrows kind of, to me, it feels like it mutes out some of the warding feelings. So sometimes I like those because, I get rid of that feedback from the warding, bumping the warding every 2 seconds. So sometimes I like to use those. But normally I just go straight for the Jimmy Longs. I feel like that is the kind of medium feedback that I like when I'm picking. So that's why I choose these ones all the time. And let's see. Okay. I actually was just feeling around in the lock and kind of feeling it out. I wasn't even thinking I was picking it yet, but evidently I did get a couple of clicks in, in the process, and it really just come open pretty quickly. I found this a really interesting pick for sure. It's very interesting. So there's the key. You can see that the lock is still working. Now this is a key retaining. I forgot to mention that. It is a lockout takeout lock, and they all are key retaining. So that one is as well. I might actually switch tensioners too on this pick, because I don't care for these ergo turners. I don't really like where they sit when they're in the lock. So apologies for the having to hunt down a tensioner, but I'm going to hunt down a different one for this lock. This will have to do it. Okay, it's a little looser than I'd like. Dang it. I don't like that one either. I might be stuck with that one. Jeez. All right, this one's a bit tighter. I think I can use this. I'm going to try really hard to use this one. But anyways, so this is a pick that was actually made for me by Rob Lawn. There's a profile of it. Just kind of a little hook. But it's super strong. I mean, this thing is super strong. And I'm using it because these pins are very hard to pick in this lock. I wanted to actually mess around with it and, try several ways to picking it and things like that, and then kind of discuss what I found. All right, so I got a little click out of 1, tiny click, a little click out of 2, and some core rotation. Now I'm on number 3, and of course it's right here and it's stuck. So giving that a push and another push and another push. All right, I'm just going to leave it where it is for now. Move on to number 4. And that feels binding as well. All right, gave that a push. Big old click there. And number 5, same thing. Now, the problem is we are in tons of countermilling territory in here. So these pins all feel binding, even when they're not technically binding. They're just kind of stuck in the milling. So they feel binding, but they're not really binding pins. So the problem is pressing up on them is putting them up into the keyway. And in my way. So you kind of got to play around in here until they all fall back to where they go, and then really find your binding pin again. It's pretty crazy. This is actually pretty interesting little lock. I don't think I've ever picked a loto lock with countermilling in it, but it really works to mess with your picking, I'll tell you that. And with this dead core, it's really hard to, figure out the tension on this, and you're kind of stuck using light tension and hoping that it works. So yeah, I'm just basically going around and pressing up all the pins, trying to figure out which one to pick next. Okay, got back into that nice false set. And now I'm just trying to figure out what needs picked to get this open. And I think I'm getting some counter rotation out of 5 here. I'm going to try to pick it. See if I can get it picked. Alright, got that one set at least. Felt like it's set. And just feeling around now again for the last one. I think I've got it right here. Doing some counter rotation again. Just have to be careful. Don't want to slide off of it, and I don't want to overset it. So, goodness gracious. Trying to get back on it again. Right here. Oh, I keep sliding off of it. Oh, right. There we go. That is such a cool little lock to pick. Oh my goodness, guys. This one was quite fun to pick. There's a lot going on inside this lock. We've got that countermilling in every single chamber that really gives you, it just fights you. It fights you back the entire time. So this is a very cool lock. When I first picked it open, it actually popped open very quickly for me. I was surprised by it, and I assumed that it was just going to be super easy. But I wanted to really take a look at how it picked and kind of be able to explain what I was doing while I was picking it. And so I closed it up and picked it for a second time, and that's when I realized that it was way harder than I expected and way harder than I thought. I don't know how I got it open so easily the very first time, but now that, you know, I've picked it a few times, I can say it fights you. It really fights you. I would say, if I had to rate this lock, I would say, oh goodness, maybe even the beginnings of a blue belt. I would say green belt for sure, maybe even a blue belt. Just because it really, I mean, I really fought that. I really fought that. And if you don't know what to do with countermilling or what's happening when you're picking countermilling, it can be super confusing. So for this to be just a green belt, I don't know about that. I don't know if I would agree with just green belt. I would say maybe blue belt if I was rating this one. But I'm not really sure what it's rated. I think it's actually unrated right now. And everybody that is, you know, picking it is going to kind of put their 2 cents in about what it should be rated. And we'll see what it ends up with. But for me, yeah, it was a pretty interesting lock. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and got this one and show you guys what's actually inside of it. And let's have a close-up look at these pins. So for one, we've got just the stainless, you know, drill protection driver and key pin. Number 2 looks like a serrated key pin and a, I'm going to say, top and bottom serrated driver. It's not really a barrel spool. I don't think that has a difference in diameter. I think it's just a couple serrations on the pin. And then 3, 4, and 5 are all spools and all serrated key pins as well. So all in all, a pretty interesting lock. Yeah, that countermilling in the core is pretty wild. If I'm wrong about, you know, what this is, let me know, but I definitely feel it. You can actually hear it. I'll bring it up by the mic. You can hear that clicking. So there's definitely something in there. I guess it would add to the difficulty of picking these pins. But there you have it. The Sesamee 900 series. All right, guys. Thank you for watching.